to focus on simplifying execution. Simplifying execution. How do we simplify execution? One, we need to know what it is that we want to accomplish. Where do we want to go? What's the thing that we want to get done? The second thing we want to understand is where are we currently? So it's important for us to understand where do we want to go and where are we currently? If we know those two things, we can start to put together a plan to help us get on the path to actually getting the thing done that we want to get done. So, what does that look like? Well, let's say that um, the thing that I want to do is uh, book more speaking gigs, which is a thing that I'm working on. And I know people that say, hey, don't call them gigs. They're speaking events, speaking opportunities. How do we book more of those? Well, number one, got to understand what the current state is. So current state is I've got speaking opportunities that I'm working on booked currently through the end of the year. At least once a month, I'm speaking someplace. So what does that mean? Well, I've got 6 of them planned between now and the end of the year. I don't have anything booked currently for the first quarter of next year. So current state, speaking events booked already. I've got a tape that I can share with people. I have testimonials I can share with people. So current state, I've got some things booked. Desired state, I'd like to have more of those things booked. Um, how do I build that out? Well, okay, let's say I want to have 2 speaking events per month effective by the beginning of Q1. So let's lay that out and start to identify who are some of the organizations that might be interested in bringing me in. Who are some of the organizations where they've got events that are coming up in that first part of the year where they might want someone like me to either facilitate a discussion around within their leadership team or deliver some information around how do we simplify our go-to-market strategy as an example. Okay, so I've laid out a couple of different things. One, I know what my current state is. I know how many I have currently booked for Q1. I know what my desired state is. I'd like to have 6 booked, 2 per month over the first 3 months. And I I know what it is that I'm going to be speaking on. Okay. How do I identify the people that I should be meeting with, the people who might be interested in bringing me in? Well, the people who are going to be interested in bringing me in are likely going to be organizations that have between, or have an event where they have somewhere between 20 and maybe as many as 200 people that are at that specific event. The 200 instance, we're going to break things out into smaller groups. The 20, we probably stay together as a single group the entire time and maybe do some work at individual tables. So what I can do is I can start to identify companies that fit that criteria who also have a traditional calendar year cycle. Now, why is the calendar year cycle important to me? If they've got a traditional calendar year cycle, they're likely kicking something off at the beginning of the year. So they might have a beginning of the year kickoff. I can also look back at some of their posts from LinkedIn 12 months ago and determine who was talking about sales kickoff events at various locations, maybe locations that are close to me, like out here in Arizona. Who are some of the organizations that brought people out to Arizona or have typically brought people out to Arizona in the past? Net net, what I've got to do is I've got to know where I want to go. I want to know where I am. I need to know who I want to go with, who I want to engage with. And then I get to the point where I start to conduct some general outreach. And that outreach can either be through people who I know, who know folks at those organizations, who know folks who are in specific roles. Maybe they're in sales or revenue enablement type roles, and they might be putting together these kind of events. So I identify the people that I want to make contact with, and then I start conducting the outreach. And I will start with something like typically around this time of the year, you're going through the combination of putting together your strategy for participating events and events that happen toward the end of Q3 and beginning of Q4. And you're thinking about the specific event that you're going to hold in the first quarter of the year. When people go through this stuff, here are a couple of the things they're likely thinking about. This is what I see inside organizations. And what I'm looking to do is I want to provide some kind of value, some exposure to them around some of the things that they're probably thinking about or might maybe should be thinking about as they prepare for events that they participate in, as they prepare for events that they're putting on. My objective is to get a meeting with someone on the other end, because if I can have a conversation with them, I can start to get a sense for what are some of the things that they're worried about, what are some of the things that they're thinking about, determine whether or not there's actual fit there. So in the context of simplifying, and I know we just went through this in about 5 minutes, a little bit over 5 minutes. I know where I want to go. I know where I am. I know who I want to go with. I know who the people are that I need to reach out to. And then I start conducting that outreach with the objective of demonstrating that I know what I'm talking about. I'm able to help them in areas that aren't specifically related to coming in and speaking. And I'd like to have a conversation with them about how I might be able to support them on their initiatives, both through the end of this year relative to events that they're participating in, and at the beginning of next year relative to events that they'll be hosting on their end. Break things down into smaller parts. Here's a good example of what that looks like when it comes to a lot of the fitness stuff that we've been talking about. This is the updated version of the checklist for this week. So the week starts on Saturday. I'm organized around recovery, nutrition, movement, recovery, nutrition, movement. And then I've got some objectives that I'm working through. So far today, Jen and I already did our 500 swings up here at the top. I'm going to get out there. I'm probably going to walk the golf course here in a little bit. We'll get that intensity level up through some of the cardio. And then here's where I'm keeping track on a weekly basis of how well I'm hitting those objectives. I was 32 for 33 in the first week, 30 for 32 in the second week, 14 of 26 in week 3, 28 of 37 in week 4, 26 of 34 in week 5. And I really got to hit it hard this week in order to hit my target of over 80% in the first sprint. Hope this is helpful relative to simplifying things. You can simplify from the standpoint of execution when going to market. You can simplify from the standpoint of execution when working on getting yourself in shape. I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get this thing. Let's see. I am struggling with being able to turn the meeting off. Let's, we'll figure this out next time. Thanks.